Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today for Webinar Wednesdays with SMP. In celebration of the SMP Awareness Month and Medicare Fraud Prevention Week this month in June, our June hot topic is volunteering for SMP, a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. So my name is Sunny Lawless. I am the volunteer coordinator for our SMP programs, and I'm going to be your presenter today. And co-presenting with me is Johnetta Red, who is one of our community outreach specialists in Mississippi. We will be taking questions at the end of our presentation today. There's also going to be a prize drawing at the end for those of you who were registered for this webinar prior to 10:15 this morning, and the winner must be present to win. Before we get started, I do have to let you know that this project was supported by a grant from the U.S. Administration for Community Living, Department of Health and Human Services in Washington. Grantees undertaking projects under government sponsorship are encouraged to express freely their findings and conclusions. Points of view or opinions do not therefore necessarily represent official Administration for Community Living policy. So who is the Senior Medicare Patrol? Well, SMPs are grant-funded projects of the federal U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Administration for Community Living. Every state has an SMP program. In Georgia, Louisiana, and Mississippi, SMP is sponsored by AdviseWell. And our mission is to empower and assist Medicare beneficiaries, their families, and caregivers to prevent, detect, and report healthcare fraud, errors, and abuse. And we do that through outreach, counseling, and education. And this year is really big because we are celebrating 25 years of the SMP program. Before I dive into our presentation today, I'd like to take a quick poll. So our question is, what are the benefits of volunteering for older adults? So I'm going to launch the poll and you'll see it on your screen. There we go. And so the options are, it's good for your mental health, it prevents loneliness and isolation, it gives you a feeling of purpose, it helps you learn new skills, or all of the above. And I'll give you just a few seconds to answer. We're about at 71%. I'll give everyone just another maybe 5 seconds to lock in those answers. All right, so let's share the results. So it looks like 100% said all of the above, and the answer is E, all of the above. And I'm going to tell you why. All right, so there are many, many benefits of volunteering for older adults. We're going to go through just a few of them that were shared by Vantage Aging. So one, it's good for your mental health. Volunteering keeps the brain active, which contributes to your mental health. Meaningful and productive activities can help you feel happier and have a positive outlook on life. According to the National Institute on Aging, volunteering may also lower your risk of dementia and other health issues. It also prevents loneliness and isolation. Social isolation is a major issue that many older adults face. The feeling of loneliness and few interactions with others can negatively impact a person's health. So getting out into the community and volunteering promotes socialization. Plus, individuals who engage in volunteering activities experience a shorter course of depression than those who do not. And that's according to the Corporation for National and Community Service. Another option is it gives you the feeling of purpose. So as we all grow older, our sense of purpose might begin to fade. You know, our children grow up and they move out of the house, we retire from our jobs, and some of the physical activities may become more difficult. So regaining a feeling of purpose through volunteering can help us feel recharged with a new zest for life. It can also be a motivating factor for setting and accomplishing other goals. Another one is it helps you meet new friends. So life changes such as moving to a new neighborhood or retiring from your career can make finding friends to spend time with difficult. Volunteering is a great way to meet new people with common interests. By working together towards the same mission, you can build friendships with like-minded peers who are finding creative solutions in your community. Volunteering for older adults also increases physical activity. So physical activity is highly important when it comes to staying healthy and independent as we get older. Volunteering keeps you moving, whether you're serving meals at a shelter or helping to clean up your local parks or volunteering for senior Medicare patrol. It also helps you learn new skills. So sometimes monotony can make life a little dull. You find yourself bored with too much time on your hands. Volunteering might be just what you need to spice things up. Many volunteer activities allow you to try new things that you've never done before and learn new skills. Take a look at opportunities that are a little outside of your comfort zone because you may develop a passion for something you never knew you had. So now that you know why you should volunteer, we're going to talk about volunteering for the SMP program. So now you know about the benefits of volunteers and volunteering. Why should you volunteer for SMP? Well, the SMP program offers volunteers an opportunity to make an important difference in their communities. Volunteers take pride in working to ensure that the Medicare program will be protected for future generations. SMP volunteers receive training on the basics of Medicare and healthcare fraud, errors, abuse, and scams. Once training is complete, they are better aware of the scams that affect some of our most vulnerable beneficiaries. Our volunteers participate in bi-monthly webinars and various training opportunities throughout the year. Depending on the area that you're in, sometimes you might have the opportunity to work with a fellow volunteer at presentations or community events. We also hold volunteer appreciation events during the month of April for National Volunteer Week. Volunteering for SMP is also a great activity for couples. You can work together with your spouse or partner to give SMP presentations or attend health fairs. As we mentioned on the previous slides, the SMP mission is to empower and assist Medicare beneficiaries, their families, and caregivers to prevent, detect, and report healthcare fraud, errors, and abuse. There are three main areas for our work. The first and third are to conduct outreach and education and to receive beneficiary complaints. The second is to engage volunteers. Protecting older persons' health, finances, and medical identity while saving precious Medicare dollars is a cause that attracts many civic-minded individuals. The SMP program offers volunteers an opportunity to make an important difference in their communities. Volunteers take pride in working to ensure that the Medicare program will be protected for future generations. In 2020, the SMP projects had a total of 5,720 total active team members, and those team members conducted 9,870 group outreach and education events. That refers to our presentations and events that we attend throughout the community. And through those events, the SMP programs reached an estimated 425,103 people. In addition, the projects had 249,134 individual interactions with or on behalf of a Medicare beneficiary. An individual interaction is those conversations that we have with beneficiaries or others about the SMP program or suspected fraud, errors, or abuse. So there's several ways that someone could become volunteered with our program. We're going to take a look at the three volunteer opportunities that we currently have available. So those are staffing exhibits, giving group presentations, and becoming a community fraud fighter and distributing information. The first volunteer opportunity that we'll discuss is staffing exhibits. It's basically just as it sounds. These volunteers help us by staffing tables at events like health fairs and resource fairs and other community type events. SMP provides all of the materials for the volunteer to use, like a tablecloth, brochures, and giveaways. Volunteers in this role set up a table and provide general information about SMP to the public, and they answer basic questions. And as you can see in the photo, this is one of our Louisiana volunteers, and she's at the SMP table handing out literature and telling attendees about the SMP program. The second volunteer opportunity that we have available is group presentations. So these volunteers are trained by SMP to give presentations on SMP topics to small and large groups. The presentations usually last anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, and these volunteers may interact with the audience and answer questions and go through discussions with the attendees. We also sometimes host bingos at sites, which is really fun. The volunteer will give a short presentation on the SMP program and then follow up with a few games of bingo. And for that, we provide all of the materials for both the presentations and the bingo, and that includes bingo prizes for your prize winners. You will hear a sample presentation during the second half of this webinar. It's going to be our standard Protect, Detect, Report presentation, but we also have many other fraud topics for volunteers to choose from. Some of those include identity theft, durable medical equipment fraud, understanding your MSN or EOB, and more. During orientation, volunteers receive scripts and other materials to help them as they start their journey as an SMP volunteer. Our last volunteer opportunity is for community fraud fighters and information distribution. Our community fraud fighters share information in community living settings like independent living facilities and other senior housing sites. This opportunity is done on an as-needed basis when we have materials like brochures, or if there's an important fraud alert that we want to get out there, or newsletters that need to be shared in the communities. These volunteers may also set up a table at some of those facilities and provide information to those who visit the table about the SMP program. So now that you know about the types of opportunities that we have for volunteers, we're going to take a look at some of the steps it takes to become a volunteer. The first step is application and screening. Acceptance as an SMP volunteer is not automatic. Because we do work with a vulnerable population, the screening process is very thorough. Applicants complete an application and a background screening. The screening is just a basic criminal history background check, and we also do a motor vehicle records check. Once the screening is complete, the applicant is approved, the second step is for the applicant to complete the SMP Foundations training. Now, this training provides the volunteer with information on our program, basic information on Medicare, information on Medicare fraud and scams. The training is completed online. It's done at your own pace, and there is an assessment that is to be completed at the very end, and it just lets us know that you got the gist of the information and you understand the mission and what your roles are as an SMP volunteer. Now, after training is complete, the next step is for us to have orientation. And while we try to make this an in-person orientation whenever possible, COVID necessitated the need for us to make those virtual, but we do try to do the in-person if at all possible. Sometimes we do have to do the virtual if we're not in your area. But this is an opportunity for me to work directly with the volunteer one-on-one, and we review the mission, our rights and responsibilities to the volunteer's rights and responsibilities to the SMP program. We talk about code of conduct and many other things. Orientation is also when we review the procedures for how the volunteer submits information on their activities for the month, such as how many presentations they gave, where they visited, community events they might have attended, and any other interactions with beneficiaries, because you would report all of that information back to us at the end of every month. So this graphic shows you just some of the ways that you can become involved as a volunteer. You can conduct outreach and education. That's like what we talked about earlier with presentations and attending events. Completing continuing education trainings. We do offer group education training and counselor training to volunteers once they finish that first step of training. You can attend and participate in our bi-monthly volunteer exchange webinars. attend and participate in our yearly volunteer appreciation events, and you can also complete training and screening refreshers when the time comes up for you to do so. Volunteering for our program is extremely flexible, and it's done on an as-needed basis. As presentations and events are added to our calendar, volunteers are offered the opportunity to attend, and they have the option to decline if they're not available on that particular day and time. Volunteers determine how often they'd like to participate in SMP activities. However, we do ask that you commit to volunteer for the program for at least 1 year, and that's just because the time that's involved with screening and training, we really ask for that 1 year commitment. Scheduling events can sometimes be a little tricky. I work with volunteers one-on-one to see what their schedule might look like for the coming month, and then we work together to kind of fill in opportunities for them when they are available. And we also encourage our volunteers to find opportunities for themselves within their own community. So if they hear of a health fair, maybe I haven't heard of that particular health fair. So you can give me that information and we'll work together to get you signed up to attend. So here is a look at some of our volunteers in action at different events. There's health fairs. One is giving a presentation and distributing information. And there's always lots of smiling faces. We love to get photographs of our volunteers out there working in their communities. So now that you know more about our volunteer opportunities and how you can become a part of the SMP program, I am going to turn things over to Johnetta, who is going to give you an example of the information that our volunteers share during typical protect, detect, and report presentations. Johnetta?
Thank you, Sunny. So some of the information we share in our presentations are the 3 keys to prevention. And those 3 keys are protect, detect, and report. Next slide. The first key is protect. Protecting your personal information is your best defense against healthcare fraud and abuse. Treat your Medicare and Social Security number like your credit card. Never, ever give these numbers to a stranger. Remember, Medicare won't call to ask for your Medicare number. Don't carry your Medicare card with you unless you'll need it for your doctor's appointment or your doctor's visit. As we mentioned in the previous slides, it helps to keep a record of your medical visits, tests, and procedures. And do this with a healthcare journal or a calendar. Next slide, please. The second key is detect. Knowing how to spot suspicious activity can help you stop healthcare fraud and abuse in its tracks. Review your Medicare Summary Notice, also known as an MSN, or Explanation of Benefits, also known as the EOB. These are the forms from your insurance company. Your Medicare Summary Notice is mailed to you by Medicare every 3 months. If you have a Medicare Advantage plan, you will receive an explanation of benefits after you receive healthcare services. Compare your statements to your personal records or that calendar that you have, and look for the following items. Look for charges for something you didn't get, billing for same services or supplies twice, and we also ask that you look for services that weren't ordered by your doctor. Next. The third and final key is report. If you suspect you have been a target of fraud, report it. This will help you and others at risk for healthcare scams in the future. Here are some steps to report suspicious behavior. If you receive a suspicious call, don't give out any personal information. Report the call immediately to Senior Medicare Patrol. If you have questions about your Medicare statement, call your healthcare provider or your plan. If you are not comfortable calling your provider or not satisfied with their response, Again, call Senior Medicare Patrol. Next slide, please. As mentioned in previous slides, we have a toll-free number, 877-272-8720. You can also visit our website, www.stopmedicarefraud.org, for additional information about our program. And we would also like to encourage you to like us on Facebook. Next slide, please.
All right, thank you, Johnetta. So that gives you all just an example of the information that is provided by our volunteers and staff during SMP presentations. And as I mentioned earlier, we do provide scripts. So we have a protect, detect, report story version that kind of talks about a scam that actually happened in South Louisiana several years back. And so it talks about that. It kind of goes a little bit further in depth, and then just the typical detect, report, excuse me, presentation and information that Johnetta just gave you. So we do provide all of that information to you during orientation. And if possible, we try to set you up with either another volunteer or an SMP staff person where you can actually go and watch them do a live presentation and even work a community event, just so you can kind of get your feet wet before we turn you loose and let you begin your own journey as an SMP volunteer. So we'd like for you to go ahead and please save the date for our next Webinar Wednesdays event. On July 20th, we will be discussing durable medical equipment fraud. So we hope that you will join us for that then, and just kind of be on the lookout for the invitation with the registration information for that. But save the date, it's going to be July 20th at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. All right, well, before we wrap things up and open the floor to your questions, we do have a prize drawing to get to. So for all of you who joined or registered today prior to 10:15 a.m., your names have been added to our prize wheel, and you do have to be present to win. So everyone's name is on here. I'm going to go ahead and click the button, and let's see who is our lucky winner this morning. Okay, first name, Tarina. I'm not seeing Tarina logged in, so we're gonna spin again. Laura?
We have a Laura Dees.
We do, and that's gonna be Miss Laura Dees. Congratulations, Miss Laura. You are our prize drawing winner for today. So I will be reaching out to you later just to get your information so we can send that out to you. Our prize today is one of our 25th anniversary coffee tumblers. It's a stainless steel, one of those vacuum, really nice 25th anniversary tumbler. So I will reach out to you and get that information so we can get you your prize. All right, so before we wrap up today's presentation, I did just want to open it to questions. So if you have a question regarding the information that we presented today, you can raise your hand. If you look to the right of your screen, you should have a hand button in your go-to control panel. You can raise it and I will unmute your line and you can ask a question, or if you like to chat that in, you can do that as well. I did see one question, let's see. It looks like Miss Brenda Jacobs asked, when can I participate in a training opportunity? Well, because training is done online and done at your own pace, you can do that anytime. So you just have to fill out one of our applications, and that kind of is what gets the process started. So it goes from the application to the screening and then to the training. So I'm going to write your information down, Miss Brenda, and I will reach out to you after the webinar today and get you one of those application packets. And you can just let me know if you have any more questions from that. And let's see, do we have any hands raised? No, I don't see any other hands coming in. All right, you guys. Well, this will conclude our presentation today on volunteering for Senior Medicare Patrol. I will send an email to everyone after the webinar with a link to a short survey. Um, if you wouldn't mind, please fill that out just so you can let the Administration for Community Living know how we did today with that presentation. And I also put it in the chat in case you wanted to click on it. And let's see. All right. Okay, well, I just wanted to check the questions in chat one more time, and I don't see anything. So we will go ahead and let you guys go, but we appreciate you joining us today, and we hope to see you again soon at another one of our events. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Johnetta, for the presentation, and we will see you all again soon.
Thank you, Sunny. Bye-bye.